An instant arrives in existence, and it doesn't always come with prior warning. It infiltrates after sleepless nights, shattered plans, and repeated attempts to fix what simply won't bend. You've been doing more, haven't you? Running, fighting, meditating, writing, manifesting, praying, organizing, and still, nothing moves. You look at the sky and whisper, why isn't it working? Surrender. But here's the raw and liberating truth: you've been trying to force alignment with clenched fists. And the universe doesn't respond to fists, it responds to surrender. Carl Jung once said, what you resist not only persists but grows in size. So while you've been trying to affirm your future, deep down your energy has been saying, I don't have this, I'm not enough, I'm scared. And guess what? The world listens to your energy, not your words. That's why your efforts don't manifest results in it, because you're lazy. Not because you're broken, but because you're stuck in survival mode, trying to control what was never yours to command. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And when your entire identity is built on chasing, fixing, solving, your life becomes a reflection of the very void you're trying to escape. So what if I told you this: the most powerful move you can make right now is to stop grasping, stop pushing, stop proving that, out of fear, but out of faith, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because when the doing stops, the becoming begins. When the noise quiets, the unconscious awakens. And when you finally stop interfering, the psyche starts to heal, the shadow starts to integrate, and reality starts to align on its own. This isn't the end of your effort, this is the beginning of your surrender, not giving up, but yielding to something deeper, something timeless. Let go and watch what happens. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop chasing, blocking yourself. They sold us a lie that success comes from chasing, that happiness is the result of relentless pursuit, that if you just run faster, push harder, and keep battling, eventually what you want will fall into your hands. But Carl Jung didn't teach us to chase dreams, he taught us to look within, to ask, why am I chasing this in the first place? Because sometimes the thing you're chasing isn't the real desert, it's the bandage for a deeper wound. When you crave love so intensely it consumes your thoughts, is it really about love, or is it about the fear of being abandoned again? When you obsess over wealth, is it truly about money, or are you still trying to prove your worth to people who once made you feel small? Jung's genius wasn't in motivation, it was in confrontation. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That means if you don't bring your wounds into the light, they will control your desires, and you won't even notice. So you keep running toward things, thinking they'll complete you, but life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. And if what you are is wounded, desperate, fragmented, then every goal you chase will slip through your fingers, because the energy behind your effort is saying, I'm not whole, I'm not worthy, I need this to feel enough. And the universe always mirrors your vibration. You say, please give me love. You are not whole, but your energy says, I don't have it. So it echoes back, you're right. That's why people burn out, chasing relationships that never work, careers that drain them, validation that fades not because the goal is wrong, but because the self behind the goal is bleeding. The obsession is never about the thing, it's about what you believe that thing will fix inside you. And here is the uncomfortable truth: if you got what you wanted right now, you wouldn't even be able to hold it because your hands still tremble with old pain. Jung wasn't here to help you manifest from the ego, he was here to help you integrate your soul. Stop chasing and start facing the part of you that's been quietly screaming, I'm not chasing success, I'm chasing wholeness. So here's your turning point. Before you ask for more from the universe, ask yourself, what part of me still feels empty? Because once you heal that, you'll stop chasing what was never yours and start attracting what was always meant for you. This isn't about giving up your goals, it's about clearing your reasons. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need any more because they've already become whole. Only then will the universe stop testing you and start trusting you. Let's go deeper. Chapter 2. The unconscious is always listening. Most people wake up every day thinking they're being tested by life, that the universe is throwing obstacles in their path to see how strong they are. But the truth is far deeper and more personal. You're not being tested, you're being mirrored. Life doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are, and not your affirmations, not your Instagram captions about healing, but your unconscious identity, the silent belief system pulsing beneath every decision you make. Carl Jung understood this with brutal clarity. He said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Translation: stop looking for signs in the sky, start reading the ones, the brutal reality. Your soul Because here's the brutal reality: if your unconscious mind is filled with doubt, fear, trauma, unworthiness, you could write affirmations in golden ink on your ceiling, could repeat, "I am enough," until your throat runs dry. It still wouldn't work, because deep down, you don't believe it. You can't lie to the unconscious. It hears everything, remembers everything, and runs the show even when you think you're in control. Let's get real for a second. That tightness in your chest when you visualize your future, that anxiety when you think about how it'll all come together, that's not intuition, that's your unconscious screaming, "You don't really think this is possible, do you?" And so life mirrors that. It delays the blessing not out of cruelty, but because your energy says, "I'm not ready to receive." So what do? We stop. We stop begging. We stop obsessing. We stop throwing more. Detachment is not giving up positivity on top of internal chaos. Because real power isn't found in more effort, it's found in presence, in slowing down enough to hear the whispers of your own psyche. When you feel the doubt, don't run from it. When the fear shows up, don't bury it under another motivational podcast. Sit with it, decode it, because every fear is a message, every hesitation is a sign. Your unconscious is always talking. The question is, are you brave enough to listen? And here is the plot twist: when you finally do nothing, when you stop interfering, when you stop trying to force divine timing with human impatience, when the shift begins, that's when your energy aligns. That's when the unconscious stops resisting. And that's when the universe says, "Now you're ready." You're not here to chase alignment, you're here to become it. And becoming begins in stillness. Chapter 3: Detachment isn't giving up, it's awakening. Let go net as an act of defeat, not because you gave up on the outcome, but because you finally woke up to the truth. I was never meant to control the world, I was meant to understand myself within it. Detachment isn't about apathy, it's not about pretending nothing matters. It's about reclaiming your energy from places it never belonged in the first place. It's the quiet confidence that says, "I've done what I could, now I release what I can't." Carl Jung understood that true transformation doesn't happen in obsession, it happens in surrender, not passive resignation, but deep inner alignment. You can't fake detachment. You can't scroll Instagram saying, "I don't care anymore," while secretly checking your phone every 5 minutes for their name, for a sign, for a shift. The unconscious doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your vibration. And if your vibration still says, "I need this to feel whole," then life will keep showing you all the ways you're not. Detachment isn't the absence of desire, it's the absence of dependency. It's the inner knowing that says, "Even if this never comes, I am still enough." And here is the paradox: when your energy finally aligns with that truth, that's when everything starts to flow, not because you forced it, but because you're no longer resisting. Life bends to those who are already whole, not to those begging to be completed. So if you're in pain right now, if you're stuck in that invisible web of waiting, obsessing, waiting, pause, not to distract yourself, but to ask, what part of me still believes this one thing will fix everything? The part of you that's waiting for love, for validation, for success. That part doesn't need fixing, it needs witnessing. Not by the world, not by your ex, not by your parents, but by you. Because the moment you see yourself clearly, without judgment, without shame, you stop looking for mirrors out there and start becoming your own. And that's where real change begins. No more chasing, no more begging, no more proving, just being, unapologetically, powerfully you. Chapter 4: Allow the void. This is where transformation happens after you finally let go, after the struggle, the obsession, the grasping, the begging. Something unexpected happens. Nothing. No sign, no reward, no sudden miracle, just the void. It's silence. You wake up, and the world looks the same. Your phone doesn't buzz, your heart still aches. The opportunity didn't come, the message didn't arrive, and the voice inside you whispers, "Was any of this worth it?" This is the moment that breaks most people, because we've been conditioned to believe, if I let go, something good will instantly replace it. But the universe doesn't move on your timeline, it moves in energetic alignment. And before it gives you what you asked for, it checks to see who you've become without it. So here you are in the void, a space that feels like nothing but holds everything. This is the in-between place, the space where your old self died, but your new self hasn't yet been born. And that space is terrifying because there's no map, no proof, no external feedback to tell you you're on the right track, just you, your thoughts, and the deafening stillness that demands you trust something you can't yet see. Carl Jung called this space the creative void. He said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order." That means what looks like nothing happening on the outside is actually deep internal reorganization on the inside. Your soul isn't on pause, it's under construction. Your unconscious is rewiring, old wounds are detaching, new beliefs are anchoring, your nervous system is adapting to receive the thing you used to beg for. But here is the trap, because you can't see it happening. Your ego tells you this isn't working. And if you believe that lie, you'll self-sabotage chasing again and block everything that was quietly forming in the background. The void isn't punishment, it's purification. It strips away everything you were relying on external validation, the illusion of control, the addiction to outcome essential. The only thing left is your truth. And when you get to that place, where you stop chasing and start becoming, the universe listens, because energy never lies. You can post vision boards, recite affirmations, and chant mantras all day. But if your energy still says, "I'm scared it won't happen," then life mirrors that. The void is the moment where you're asked to embody the outcome before it arrives. Can you feel rich before the money hits your account? Can you feel loved before the relationship manifests? Can you feel free before anything changes on the outside? Because if you can, you collapse time. You turn waiting into becoming. You turn stillness into magnetism. You become the vibration of your desire, and life has no choice but to meet you there. But first, you must pass the testy silence, the unknown, the terrifying gap where you feel like you're doing nothing but are actually becoming everything. So if you're in that void right now, hold your ground. Don't move, don't fix, don't panic. Breathe, align, and listen. Because on Syntegration you master this sacred stillness. Once you stop needing proof and start becoming presence, life gets loud again. But this time, it sings your song. Chapter 5. Integrate, don't obsess. Every desire you feel isn't random. It's not punishment. It's not the universe teasing you or dangling something out of reach. It's a mirror, a message, a spiritual mission. Carl Jung understood this deeply. He taught that every desire is a signal from the unconscious not to chase something out there, but to awaken something in here. You don't want money just to be rich. You want to feel safe. You don't want a relationship just to be loved. You want to feel seen. You don't want success just for applause. You want to finally believe you're enough. The desire isn't the problem, the unconscious attachment beneath it is. And this is where most people get stuck. They obsess. They mistake their longing for action, checking their phone 20 times a day, rereading old conversations, overanalyzing every delay, every silence, every tiny shift in energy, and call it manifestation. But Carl Jung's work, especially the of individuation, taught us something different. The goal isn't to become perfect, it's to become whole. And wholeness doesn't come from obsessing over what's missing, it comes from integrating what you've disintegrated. Your shadow, your power, your insecurity, your deepest truth, even the parts you've been ashamed to look at. Because when you finally hold both your strength and your struggle, you stop needing life to fill you up. You become full on your own. Let that sink in. You don't attract what you obsess over, you attract what you've made peace with. So the next time you feel the pull to chase, pause, not out of laziness, but out of mastery. Breathe, close your eyes, and ask, what part of me still thinks this thing will complete me? Because when you realize you're already whole, that you're not missing anything, not broken, not behind, something powerful happens. The obsession dissolves, and in its place come clarity and real magnetism. Youth ego wants control. Stop needing the world to prove your worth. And ironically, that's when the world starts responding to you differently. Because now your energy says, I already am this. I'm already there. That's the difference between manifesting from desperation and magnetizing from alignment. So yes, you could keep reaching, could keep analyzing every sign, or you could do the radical, revolutionary things. It's still, do nothing, and let life catch up to who you've already become. Because once the inner work is done, you don't need to chase, you don't need to eschew, simply allow, you simply receive, you simply are. Chapter 6. The ego wants control, the soul wants peace. Let's be honest, that part of you that keeps checking your phone, refreshing your inbox, rereading conversations, watching the clock, asking, why hasn't it happened yet? That's not your higher soul, that's your ego screaming in fear. The ego hates the unknown, craves certainty, needs the illusion of control to feel safe. And if it doesn't get it, it spirals, catastrophizes, floods your nervous system with panic, and labels it intuition. But that's not intuition, that's insecurity. That's unhealed fear dressed as urgency. Carl Jung saw this inner war clearly. He didn't just study it, he lived it. And he taught us that the human experience is a constant tension between the ego and the soul. The ego demands proof, the soul whispers truth. The ego says, I need to control this so I don't get hurt again. The soul says, I've already survived the worst, let's flow. Here is what most people never learn. The ego seeks outcomes. The soul seeks alignment. Soul seeks alignment. The ego needs to know how it'll happen. The soul just needs to feel it will. Because the soul operates outside of time-ites, not chasing its remembering. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And here is the twist: who you truly are isn't the version of you that's panicking. It's the version beneath all that's one that already feels complete. That version of you isn't scared of the silence, isn't measuring your worth in text replies, followers, bank balances, or timelines. It breathes deeper, speaks slower, moves with grace, not urgency best. It knows, everything meant for me will come, and it'll come in time, divine time, not mine. But to access that version, you need to develop the ability to pause when anxiety surges, to break the cycle and pose a fundamental question: is this springing from my ego or my essence? If I feel pressure, nervousness, or desperation, it's the ego talking. If I experience tranquility, ease, and surrender, it's the soul manifesting. This doesn't mean abandoning dreams, but stopping the clinging, ceasing to suffocate your manifestations through fear, because desperation is loud, while alignment is silent. It doesn't beg, doesn't chase, it just materializes. If you're living a moment of uncertainty now, don't add more noise, don't drown in distractions or self-pity. Close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and ask, what would the healed version of me do in this moment? Then take that action, not because it guarantees the outcome, but because it anchors your serenity truth. Remember, you're not here to control, but to co-create, and you can't co-create from panic. You must choose serenity even when it's uncomfortable, even without evidence, even when your ego insists nothing's working. By choosing peace over pressure, reality starts to shift. That's when you stop being just a passenger in your existence, and become the architect. Serenity is your compass, follow it, and everything meant for you will follow. Chapter 7: Shadow Work is manifestation work. You can't manifest a better life by only loving the pretty parts of yourself. You can't attract abundance by rejecting the version of you that feels fear, anger, shame, or insecurity. Because the universe doesn't respond only to your goals, it responds to your wholeness. And wholeness means facing the part of you you've been running from your entire life. Carl Jung called it the shadow, not evil, not darkness in the Hollywood sense, but the repressed self, the parts you buried to survive the fear you silenced, the rage you swallowed, the guilt you pretended didn't exist, the sense of inadequacy you masked as ambition. Most people think manifestation is about scripting, visualizing, and raising vibes. But real, lasting, grounded manifestation doesn't come from fantasy, it comes from integration. Let's be honest, every time you obsess over love, it's usually not about love, it's about a wound screaming, if someone loves me, maybe I'll finally feel enough. Every time you hustle harder for money, it's not just ambition, it's a core belief saying, I'm not safe unless I have more. And here is the trap: if your manifestations are rooted in the shadow and lack, fear, trauma, inadequacy, then what you create will reflect that. You'll manifest a partner who triggers your abandonment wound, manifest money that vanishes as fast as it comes, manifest success that feels empty and exhausting. Why? Because you attracted through a fragmented self. That's why Jung's work is so crucial. He taught that we must bring the unconscious to consciousness, because until we do, it runs our lives, and we call it fate. The real question isn't how do I attract more, but what inside me still believes I don't have enough. That's where shadow work begins. And no, it's not easy. It's uncomfortable. It asks you to stop blaming the world and start looking within, to stop pointing at what didn't happen and start asking, what part of me wasn't ready to receive? It's not about shame, it's about responsibility. It's about creating space for all versions of youth, light and the dark, and saying, you can exist, you can be seen, and you don't need to control me anymore. Because once your shadow is seen, it stops operating in the background, stops pulling strings behind your back, stops creating chaos just to get your attention. You take back your power, and in that reclamation, your frequency shifts. You don't manifest from fear anymore, you magnetize from wholeness. This isn't positive thinking, it's quantum alignment. It's nervous system security. It's you becoming the version of yourself who doesn't need the world to fix what your soul has already healed. You stop forcing, start allowing, stop proving, start radiating base now. You're not asking the universe from a place of lack, you're becoming a version of you that already feels like it's done. And that internal reality is what bends the external world, not scripts, not vision boards, not chasing signs, but deep, grounded, fierce integration. This is the work, not the glossy, Instagrammable version of the real work spirituality, but the real work, the work that makes you look in the mirror and say, I've been trying to manifest my future without making peace with my past. No more. Now you stop running. Now you go within. Now you face what's been quietly driving your entire life. And when you do, the illusion breaks, the power returns, and your life starts to mirror your wholeness, not your wounds. That's manifestation. That's individuation. That's freedom. Chapter 8. Don't become the blocker of your own destiny. This might be the hardest pill to swallow, but the only thing standing between you and the life you want is you. Not your past, not your trauma, not the universe. You, Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, the man who saw deeper into the human soul than almost anyone, said something hauntingly true. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Terrifying, yes, because real accept yourself self-actent requires confronting the parts of you you've avoided your entire life with guilt, the shame, the regret, the fear that maybe you're not good enough. So instead of going within, you chase the outside, seek someone to tell you you're worthy. Fight for love, grind for success, manifest not from belief but from desperation to escape yourself. But here's the brutal truth. Anything you chase to avoid yourself will become the thing that avoids you. You think you're just trying to make your dream life happen, but in reality, you're using that dream to avoid sitting in the silence of who you are right now. And the universe isn't punishing you, it's protecting you, because it knows if you got everything you wanted right now, you wouldn't be able to sustain it, because part of you still doesn't feel worthy of it. And here is the deeper truth Jung pointed to. When you don't accept yourself completely, you become fragmented. Your conscious self says, I want more. The deep truth, but your unconscious self says, I'm not ready. And so your energy becomes a contradiction. A war between desire and disbelief, a magnetic field that repels what it pretends to attract. You become the blocker of your own destiny because you're weak, but because you're still operating from an outdated version of yourself, a version built on survival, shaped by wounds, a version that was taught to earn love, not receive it. And the tragedy is that most will live their entire lives chasing outcomes when what they really need is to shift their identity. You don't need to do more, you need to become the version of yourself that doesn't need to chase, the version that already feels what you're trying to manifest, the version that already believes, I am worthy, I'm ready, I'm enough. Because here is the universal law, no one talks about you don't get what you want, you get what you are. If you feel unworthy deep down, even while saying all the right affirmations, you'll unconsciously sabotage every opportunity, every relationship, every blessing. Why? Because your energy doesn't match your intention. So if things aren't moving right now, if you feel stuck, it's not because the universe is ignoring you, it's because your internal frequency is saying, I still don't believe I deserve this. And the universe is simply reflecting that truth back to you, over and over, not to punish you, but to wake you up. So stop blaming the world, stop calling it bad luck, stop asking why nothing ever works, and start asking, what part of me still believes I have to suffer before I receive? Because the moment you stop chasing outcomes and start evolving your self-concept, that's when everything starts to shift, not instantly, not magically, but organically, from the inside out, the way real transformation always happens. So hear this, you're not stuck, you're not cursed, you're simply being asked to rise, to grow into the version of yourself that can sustain what you've been asking for, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. And when that inner shift happens, you won't need to force manifestation, you'll become it. This isn't magic, it's alignment, it's individuation, it's the power of finally, completely accepting yourself. Final chapter, you're not manifesting, you're remembering. Let's end this journey with the deepest truth, Carl Jung, truth so powerful whispered through his teachings. A truth so powerful it doesn't just shift your mindset, it restores your identity. You're not manifesting, you're remembering. All this time, you thought you were building a new life, thought you were attracting something outside of you, a dream partner, success, peace, abundance. You were doing the work, the affirmations, the visualizations, the shadow work, the healing, trying so hard to bring something into existence. But what if the real work wasn't about bringing it in, but about uncovering what was always there? Carl Jung's genius wasn't in helping people achieve more, it was in showing people they were never missing anything to begin with. That all the pieces they were chasing were actually fragments of themselves they'd abandoned along the way. Let that sink in deep. The version of you that has the love you want already exists. It's not a future version, it's your original blueprint. But somewhere along the road, the noise got loud, the world convinced you you had to chase to matter. earn your worth, perform for love, sacrifice your truth to be accepted. So you forgot your wholeness, forgot your divinity, forgot your natural alignment. You didn't lose your power, you just lost your connection to it. And now, as you walk the path of healing, growth, and self-discovery, you're not building something new, you're not starting from scratch, you're simply removing what isn't youth fear, the guilt, the need to prove, the perfectionism, the overthinking, the attachments, the stories. All of that is just static, hiding the signal of your soul. Carl Jung never gave us a system to fix ourselves because he understood something most miss. You don't need to be fixed, you need to be revealed. Who you really are isn't the thinking, anxious, insecure you've been identified with. That's the persona, a mask, a survival mechanism built over years of emotional neglect and layered with spiritual forgetting. Who you truly are is the witness, the soul underneath, the one who remembers the stillness, the one who doesn't chase because it already, when you do nothing, embodies, the one that doesn't grasp because it already is. And this is the final sacred truth: when you do nothing, when you stop grasping, striving, scripting, manifesting, out of fear, you return to your original frequency, the one you were born with, the one that didn't need to be proven, just remembered. That's why things start aligning when you finally let go, not because surrender is a cheat code, but because surrender is your natural state, the state of trust, the state of being, the state where soul outweighs ego, where energy outweighs effort, where alignment replaces anxiety. So if you're still stuck in the cycle, trying to think your way to a future, trying to force the divine to move on your not because the universe is against you, but because it's trying to remind you of something you forgot. You were never here to beg for the life you want, you're here to remember it's already yours. Once you become the version of you that can receive it, you're not late, you're not broken, you're not manifesting, remembering. And now you've remembered enough. Now it's time to return to the stillness, to the trust, to the soul that already knows everything meant for me will come, not when I chase, but when I become. And in that becoming, you don't force, you don't beg, you simply allow, you simply receive, you simply are. Welcome home. If even one line in this video cracked something open inside you, don't scroll past. Don't let this moment dissolve into your feed like any other content you half watch and forget, because this wasn't just a video, it was a mirror, a moment, a message you were meant to find, not by accident, but by alignment. Carl Jung once said, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life." Maybe this video was one of those disguises of yours, a reflection, a catalyst, a spiritual checkpoint reminding you you're not here to chase the world, you're here to return to yourself. So if you felt that shift, even for a second, comment below. I let go, I align, I receive, and not for attention, not for likes, but to declare to your unconscious this time, I'm done. I choose alignment over obsession, I choose myself over survival, I choose becoming, not begging. Like it not to feed the algorithm, but to anchor this energy in your nervous system, to tell your psyche, this moment mattered, indifferent now. Subscribe if you're done with surface level hacks and fleeting motivational highs, and you're ready to dive deep into Jungian truths that rebuild you from the inside out. This isn't a channel, it's a journey, a path for souls ready to remember. And above all that, share this video with someone you love, someone who's lost in the cycle, someone chasing everything and jet themselves. Because Carl Jung said this too: your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, he who looks outward dreams, but he who looks inward within awakens. This is your memento, awaken to turn your gaze inward, to stop seeking, and start seeing. Because in a world obsessed with more, stillness is rebellion, presence is power, and sometimes doing nothing, healing, is the most courageous act of becoming. So breathe, feel it, remember, you're not manifesting, remembering, and your return starts now.